back to AM Jackson, live from the County National Bank Studio.
All of our guests who join us live in studio spend at least a little bit of time in our Vermeulen's green room. More on Vermeulen's furniture here in just a little bit. But joining us in the studio, we'd like to welcome Curtis and Zach. We've got the Watson brothers from Coldwell Banker Beiswinger Realty Group. Guys, good morning and welcome.
Morning.
Morning, sir.
Everything well with the Watson brothers?
Yeah, everything's great. Yeah. Beautiful morning.
Yeah, so how long, let's start with you, Curtis. How long have you been doing this, working in real estate and with Coldwell?
This is my fourth year in the business. I've been with the same brokerage, which is Doug Beiswinger, which is now Coldwell Banker, Beiswinger Realty Group, that whole time. So,
and Zach, now how long for you?
Yeah. So going on year 6, all 6 of those with Doug from B&R to Coldwell Banker.
What is it about this? What is it about doing real estate and working in this Jackson market, Zach, that you like?
Well, number one, growing up here, obviously Jackson has a special place in my heart. So anything that I can do to support the community, kind of give back. But I love solving problems, and real estate is full of problems.
There is that. There is a lot of problem solving at the end. And throughout the process too. Now, Curtis, you used to sell cars.
I did. Yeah.
What's the biggest difference from selling a car to selling a house?
As a salesperson, the number of them. I mean, I would sell 200 cars in a year, my best year. In the real estate business in Jackson, if you're doing 40 or 50 transactions, you're killing it. So, So, but no, also the timeline. I think that's the biggest thing. I was kind of joking about the other part, but the timeline. So from start to finish, you can have somebody walk into a dealership and walk out with a car in an hour or two.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes 4, but you know what I mean? But in the real estate world, I mean, it's like 30 days, 45 days. Some clients you work with a lot longer than that because they're looking for a house or they're trying to sell their house. So timeline.
Timeline's definitely a little bit longer. Well, let me talk about that. Let's talk about that a little bit. When you have a homeowner who wants to upgrade, this can be. We talked about this with our news a little bit earlier in the week. It can be kind of tricky when you're trying to get into a new home, but at the same time you can't do that until you sell your current home. As real estate professionals, I mean, how difficult is that to juggle, to get into a new home at or before you sell your current home?
So it's definitely difficult, but it's more common than people think because, if you don't have that scenario, you're a first-time home buyer or you're coming from somewhere where you didn't own something. So more often than not, somebody has something to sell before they can get into the next one. So it's more common than you think, but it is difficult, especially with the way the market has been the past few years. Curtis?
I think it's tough for people to wrap their brain around as a consumer because, first of all, I mean, how many transactions or how many homes do people buy? We do it all the time, though. I mean, when you're in the business, that's just, probably, I'm shooting from the hip, but maybe 80% of the people that are selling a home also need to buy one, and they need to line it up. Not a lot of people are putting 20% down or 30% down or taking a big chunk when they have that equity. They're not taking it from their 401k, so they need to line the things up. So it's pretty common for us.
Right. Well, do you ever have a homeowner who's like, I really don't want to sell until I know where I'm going? And how do you mitigate that?
Yeah, so it's about, obviously if you have a good agent that's got some experience with that, you trust them. And so what we do is we come up with a plan. I mean, it depends a little bit on the house that they're selling and how quickly we think it can move and how aggressively it's priced. Also where they're looking to go and how tough that might be to get there or find the right house. Because, inventory, while it's getting better, is still a little bit of an issue. But timing everything. And a lot of people struggle mentally with how do I do it? Because I can't justify selling my house till I find one. But the problem is if you're going to write an offer on a house and you're competing with other people and it's contingent upon the sale of your house, you ought to have it listed. It'd be even better if you have it under contract. So I like to get the house listed first. And a buyer that loves your house is probably more likely to hang out and wait for you to find something than a seller is to hang out and wait for you to sell yours. Okay. That's my thoughts.
Yeah.
So that's the simple version of it.
Right. But I mean, the conversation, you have to have that conversation with your client first, and how difficult How many times do you have to kind of flip their perspective, flip their thinking on that?
I think it's always tough because real estate's intricate and it's obscure, and so we're always educating, and so you're constantly crossing things like that. But again, it comes back to trust. When you can kind of sit there in front of somebody and you've got a plan and you've proven that it's worked, it's easy to get over that.
Right.
Well, and as you mentioned in the beginning of this, we're problem solvers. That's what we do.
Yeah.
There's I think the two biggest things or the best skills you can have as an agent in this business is problem solving and communication. If you can't do those two things, then, you're wasting people's time. And that's the key. So you have to be able to tell people. So with a seller, for instance, I'll say, well, you're getting ready to sell your house. So let's talk about it. You talk about flipping perspective. So you're getting ready to entertain offers. So someone's writing you an offer. They've got a house to sell. How do you feel if it's under contract? Feels a little better. How do you feel if it's not even on the market? It feels a little worse. What if someone else comes along and they're writing an offer and they don't have a house to sell? That's what you're competing with when you buy. So having someone that's selling that's also buying, you can flip that on them real quick because they're in both boats. You know what I mean? Whether they see it or not, you just got to help them see it.
All right. What should someone do first if the walls are getting smaller? They're living in a home that appears to be getting smaller because the family's growing, or the kids are getting older. You know what I mean? The house feels like it's shrinking, so you need to expand a little bit. What's that first conversation like when you're first sitting down with those potential clients?
So I usually recommend to people there's two different approaches for the same thing, right? So number one, you've got to get a pretty good idea of where you're at in your house. What does it look like to sell it? What do we think we could get for it? And then on the flip side, what are you looking to purchase, and are you ready to do that, and how does that look? Once you get those two pieces, you can come together and come up with a plan based on that. Depending on what their goals are, you can kind of adjust as you go. But
I also like to get them involved with the lender as soon as possible because they're kind of going to bring the whole financial picture together. So say you're thinking about selling and you want to know how this process is going to go. I might say, hey, call your lender and get a pre-approval started because I want to know what type of loan are you getting, because that's going to help me understand. So if it's an FHA loan that you're in, that's different what we're looking for, potentially on the house that you're buying, or because they're going to dig into things I don't dig into, like where's your money coming from to put down? Is it only from your equity? Or maybe they uncover some other hidden gem that we didn't get to sitting in their living room.
Right.
Like, hey, I could do a 401k loan and avoid this whole thing, and I can pay it back with no penalties or whatever. I mean, there's creative ideas. So I like to get them with the financial person to help uncover some of that to, really get the plan underway.
Well, and the type of loan is important too, whether it's conventional or because it depends. You could be getting into a little bit of a fixer-upper, or you could be getting into something that doesn't have any. But again, the dollar value on that kind of depends on the type of loan that you're able to get and the type of house you're able to get into.
Sure. And one of the things we do, like you asked about what is our process, I just had this situation about 2 weeks ago. I had a gentleman that was talking about, I want to downsize. I want to get into a condo. He's not really forced to do that yet. He wants to do it before his body forces him to do it. And he said, well, I said, do the math and figure out. We talked a little bit about a neighborhood he wanted to be in. And this was a really, really unique situation where he knew exactly where he wanted to go, but there's nothing listed. And I said, well, I'll go try to find you something in that neighborhood. But he went and he did the math. I gave him an idea of what his house was worth. I gave him an idea based on the information he gave me, what he thought he'd walk away with. And he took those numbers and talked to his lender, and he did some math on where his payment was going to be with that much money down. And ultimately, we decided it didn't make sense right now.
Okay.
So that's a big part of the process, just finding out if it even makes sense. So
we mentioned first-time home buyers. Are we seeing... All right, when we think of first-time home buyers, I guess my thought on it was you're going to see young couples, just got married, young couples who are just going to be, finding their first house together. But I guess what I'm seeing is that's not quite really the case. You're seeing a lot of, especially older couples who've been renting forever, or like you said in that condo, who are buying their first home for the first time, or even couples with kids who are already in school.
Yeah, statistically, I don't know those off the top of my head, but I do believe that the first-time home buyer age is going up over the years. And it's extremely difficult for first-time home buyers right now. I think what we've recognized is probably the pricing. First-time home buyer homes is what we'll call them, something that's perfect for that first-time home buyer, is typically in a price range right now that is a little tough for those first-time home buyers to get to.
I think we've also, not to get into like a bigger societal conversation, but our society glamorizing the housing industry and maybe just people being the way I think things are now. A lot of young buyers, the ones that, my daughter's one of them, you know, they don't want a house they have to do work on. They want something that's turnkey, and so that alone is actually elevating their price point.
Yeah.
You know, so my first piece of advice to a first-time home buyer is always like, I know you might not know how to do all these things now, but buy something that you can build a little equity in instead of just waiting for the market to get your equity, because you're probably going to call me in a few years and say, man, I'm growing out of this house. It'd be nice to know that you did some things to build some equity. But, you know, affordability is a big part of it, and some people do it to themselves.
Well, if you can find a home that needs a little bit of work, but it's got a good foundation, it's got a good roof, it's not like you have to eat the elephant all in one sitting. You could just kind of chip away at what needs to happen at the house as long as it's dry.
Well, and sometimes it's just carpet and paint or a countertop or a sink. I mean, just, you know, it doesn't have to be turnkey. When you talked about age a minute ago, the age of first-time homebuyer, I just met with a couple at the beginning of this week, and it's great. They're in their early 30s, 31. Neither of them's owned a house, and they've been together for a long time, but they don't live together, and they don't. I mean, so there's all kinds of situations. People are waiting longer, and I think that might have a little bit to do with that price going up a little bit for the first-time home buyer, because they can afford more than they did when they were 21 or 25.
So first-timers, what should they do? Again, is it talk with their lender first?
Yeah, 100%. Lender's so important because they give you the whole financial picture. We talked about the different loan types and how that can sometimes dictate what you're looking at.
Well, a lot of first-time, I mean, even people that have bought multiple houses forget because you don't do it very often. But first-time home buyers just ultimately, I mean, they're definitely in the weeds and learning it all. But a lot of people will say, well, okay, well, I read somewhere I can do a 5% down mortgage. Well, on a $100,000 house, that feels like $5,000. But, you know, in the real estate business, we already know that that's not what it costs to get into that house. You actually you have closing costs. And so, you know, if I do a mortgage calculator online, my payment's going to be this. Well, there might be PMI, there might be some other factors. So the lender is going to help you find out, you know, exactly what you need to do. There's no guessing.
Well, and beyond that, I mean, obviously, we meet with people too, and we want to make sure questions are answered. So sometimes people will come to us and say, hey, before I jump into the lender side of things, I just have a bunch of questions. And so it's one or the other, honestly.
Yeah. Right.
Well, we like them to reach out to us too, because, you know, we can give them some recommendations. We usually give them a few options, recommendations for a lender that we know is going to work as hard as we do and answer the phone on Sunday afternoon or whatever. So, you know, that's part of it too.
Right. Well, yeah, we usually recommend a handful, but we like to recommend those that are in our backyard that we have relationships with, that we know the Jackson area like we do. Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
All right. You look like you've already say something.
Not every lender is created equal.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right, what if someone needs to get a hold of you, if they want to start the process, if they want to at least start asking some questions, or they're interested in looking at someplace besides Zillow, what do they do?
Call the Watson Brothers team. We have a team number, so it'll ring us both. And that's one of the benefits of us anyways. One of us is always available for the most part, kind of a 2-for-1 show. So, but our phone number is 517-800-5200.
Okay.
So, and that's a good way to get started. You can also get us at watsonbrothersrealestate.com.
Okay.
So,
all right. I don't know what else. Anything else going on that we didn't touch upon today that we should be talking about? And we spent a lot of time about getting ready and what is the market like here in Jackson right now? We talked about how it's difficult for some people to get into homes right now, but that was kind of a statewide story that we referenced earlier. What about Jackson? I feel like I'm seeing signs up more so this time of year than I did this time last year. I feel like inventory seems to be increasing in Jackson.
It does feel that way. I think if you look at the stats for new listings, they're actually not up over last year. The days on market are, so there's more signs up. And I think that I could be wrong. That's what I remember from the last update that I saw. But days on market are up a little bit. But houses. Why
is that? Why do you think it's taking longer?
So overall, what I think I've learned is, so not necessarily the first-time homebuyer homes. We'll call them step-up homes.
Okay.
These are in price ranges where people already have those mortgages, like we talked about, at 2 or 3%. And how do you justify stepping up into something in the 300 or 400 range, with interest rates the way that they are? And so I think a lot of those people just aren't moving. And
it's called the lock-in effect.
The days on market for those homes are higher because they're moving slower. Is
gotcha.
Essentially what I figured out.
Yeah. And when he talks about that lock-in effect that we just discussed, we've been dealing with it for a couple of years. But when you have a payment on your $150,000 house, if you kept the same rate and moved to a $250,000 house, payment's going up a decent amount.
Right.
But imagine that going up from the dollar amount of the loan, also doubling your interest rate or more.
Right.
And that's the bullet that people can't swallow.
Well, people were getting into homes when the interest rates were just incredibly low, basically unrealistically low.
Correct.
And has it leveled off? Is it kind of like normal now? Is it kind of where we're supposed to be realistically now?
I feel it's been where it's at long enough that it is the new normal. We've heard from the industry that it should be a little bit lower and settle a little lower, but this is like year 2 or 3 that it's not changed. So I would say this is the new normal.
This is the new norm.
A lot of people are thinking that a healthy market is high 4s, low to mid 5% range, and we're not there. So the normal is what the normal is, though. This is the new normal for now. So,
okay, very good. Well, let me circle back. Anything else left that we should be talking about that we didn't touch upon here today?
I could talk all day, so you have to stop me.
Yeah, but
he's not lying.
No, I mean it's a lot of fun, and if there's something that if someone, how often do you guys come across somebody who just kind of wants to look right now? They haven't quite fully committed to wanting to get into it, but they just want to know what's out there, and in case they want to pull the trigger at some point, maybe it's a few months, maybe it's a year down the road. How often do you come across what you would consider like a looky-loo right now?
I just told Zach, and I don't know if I'd call him a looky-loo, because they want to be serious. It's just they're not finding what they want, or they're not as ready as they thought. I've got 11 buyers, I think I counted, that I've got searches for, that I've been sending listings to. They just aren't finding what they're looking for. So a lot. There's quite a few. I mean, for me, 11 is quite a bit that aren't really making offers. And we're not even looking at a lot of houses with some of them. So, but I don't mind that, because I set up a search. I have some cool technology that helps me keep them in the know about what's hitting the market. And, we talk about them as they come up. So it's pretty common.
How much do you guys like it when new stuff hits the market, just to kind of get that look at it? I mean, are you like first thing you do every day looking at seeing what's new on the market?
For the most part, I mean, getting a good gauge and feel for the market's what we try to stay into. So even if we don't have buyers specifically looking for that, it's cool to see something get listed, see it go under contract, and it helps you frame the market when you're talking to people,
Yeah, and every once in a while you see something that's like, oh man, I drive by the house all the time. That's a cool house. I can't wait to look at the pictures. So yeah, I mean, we look at stuff, even though it's what we do, we look a lot like buyers do. Like we get excited when we see something cool. A cool piece of property, or just like an intriguing house that hasn't been on the market in 20 years. So we're looking at it pretty common though, pretty regularly.
How often do you guys come across one that's like might be a little outdated, or needs a little bit of work, and you're like, oh man, I can't wait to see what that one looks like after my client's done with it?
Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
I tell every single buyer, because not everybody's this way, right? It's really tough for a lot of younger people to go into a home that's dated, like maybe hasn't been touched since the 70s or 80s, and see past that and see how clean the bones are. Those are my favorite, because you can literally walk in, like he was saying earlier, flooring and paint will change a house completely. So when you walk in and you've got a clean slate essentially to just put new flooring and paint in, and that's all you've got to do. You don't have to fix anything beforehand. You don't have to, change a wonky design that somebody else had. Those are my favorite.
How often do you like, oh man, I just want to pull up that corner of the carpet just to see what's underneath it? How often does that happen?
I don't know if I should admit that I do it sometimes.
I've been on my hands and knees in a couple closets pulling up the corner. Those are the places where it's not attached great, and nobody's going to be bothered if you pull up the corner. And it's like, wow, there's hardwood under there. This looks great. You could do this with it or that with it.
Why did they cover that up in the first place?
Because that's what they did in the 70s.
I know.
Everything gets carpet.
The shag was not a good look, man. It was never a good look.
Or linoleum.
You ever think about, like,
yeah.
what are we doing now that people are going to say that about in 20 years,
Right, that's true.
The mismatched color cabinets, top and bottom. I mean, I don't know. I don't dig that. There's all
Why is
kinds
that
of
sink so big?
Yeah.
Right?
Why do you have a farm sink in the city? Like, what are you doing?
Oh man, your door's on wheels. All
Yeah.
right, cool. All right, cool. Hey guys, well, as always, a pleasure. Thank you guys for coming in today, especially on short notice. I do appreciate it. But let's again tell our listeners how do they get a hold of you.
Yeah, Watson Brothers team, 517-800-5200 or
WatsonBrothersRealEstate.com.
All right. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. This is AM Jackson on News Talk 970 AM 101.5 FM. Again, all of our guests who join us live in studio spend a little bit of time in our Vermeulen's green room.